I know exactly what a penny tastes like, though.
Yeah, dude, that's true. Actually,
You know what I mean?
like
I don't think I've put pennies in my mouth, but I know what it tastes like.
welcome back to Short Pour. It's Oktoberfest season, bitch.
Damn. Why are you so aggressive?
It's gonna be that kind of season.
We're your hosts. I'm Brandon.
And I'm Chris. Today we have the KC BierCo Festbier, a Vienna-style lager. It is a traditional German-style beer. The bottle proclaims the flavor profile is biscuit, caramel and honey malt, moderate noble bitterness, a bright clean finish, and it boasts that it's the official beer of KC Oktoberfest, and it comes in at a 5.5% ABV.
Yeah, that's actually really good.
Yeah, that is really good, actually. I really like that. That has a lot of flavor without being, like, overbearing. Yeah, that's delicious.
But I was looking at one of the websites for a review, and this guy, I assume I can say his name because, he's posting it on a public forum. We'll just call him Troy. But I think this guy posts a picture of himself drinking a beer every time he drinks the beer and reviews it. He posted 3 times on September 6th. Each of them were a 4-star rating. It's just a picture of him holding the beer. It was this beer, but they're all separate pictures. I think it's each time he drinks it. He also posted twice on September 5th. Same beer, 4-star ratings each time. It's just a picture of him with the beer like super close to his face. Yeah. And then, so I went to his profile, and he drinks a lot of Ham's beer. I think he had like 30 in a row of him reviewing Ham's each time. He makes a new review and new post each time he drinks each individual can. Yes.
It is interesting because, the 7th one could hit different than the 27th one. He's put in the real work.
Yeah, you're right. Well, so I'm going to keep checking back in because he's only posted 5 of this one.
Right.
I'm assuming he bought a 6-pack, and he hasn't had the 6th one yet, I guess. So we'll see if I hope maintains at 4 stars for him.
The whole review is just this picture? There's no word?
Yeah. It just says 4 stars. It's just a picture of him in the beer can. But what I'm trying to tell you is he did the same thing for Ham's, and there were like 30 in a row. Like, I don't understand.
Dude, this guy using no words and just pictures for every single one is somehow more coherent than most of the people that we find reviews from.
I did also think about, I was like, man, this is kind of like the TV time. Like, he just uses it as his own like TV time app to like log how much beer he's drank this year. He can go back and see.
Dude, that would be a scary thing of like, you've drank however many fluid ounces of beer this year.
Oh, yeah. I'd rather not know. So, an actual review that I got. Look, slightly hazy copper brown color, pouring a 1-finger head, which dissipated into a moderate ring with lacing. Smell, strong toasted malt and a pale caramel note in there too. A hint of hops pokes through. Taste, sweet toasted malt first, which evolves into a slightly bitter malt note laced with caramel, with what I describe as a copper penny note. The finish is fairly clean and crisp. Feel, light, moderate mouthfeel with a crisp finish. Overall, it's alright. The metallic note really throws this beer off for me. Do you taste pennies?
No, I don't taste pennies. I will say, I do smell the light caramel, though. I don't really taste caramel, but I smell it.
Dude, you know what is kind of weird? And I don't even know how to explain it. I know exactly what a penny tastes like, though.
Yeah. Dude, that's true, actually.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't think I've put pennies in my mouth, but I know what it tastes like.
Oh,
I don't know how to explain it.
I for sure have.
Oh, gross. That's so gross.
I guarantee you as a kid, I remember I have put a penny in my mouth before, for sure. For sure. You remember that time that you found me eating rocks at the playground?
Yes, I do.
Very low barrier to entry for me for a while.
Yeah, because we were at daycare, and I remember that people running it were like, what the fuck is this kid doing?
Kids over there eating fucking rocks, man. Yeah, not my best years.
Yeah, I don't know how we move on from that.
Yeah, I don't know either. And we'll just do it this way. When we return from this word from our sponsor, we will go into the history of biscuits and gravy.
Ooh. All right.
Attention. If you or a loved one has consumed Peter Peener's peanut butter, you may be entitled to financial compensation. Peanut butter has been found to contain an amount of undisclosed bodily fluids that have been known to react with jams or jellies. Please contact the law offices of Victoria Vaginer for free consultation and information packet. Together we can put this bad peener in its place.
So the first note on the flavor profile is biscuit. So that got me thinking, and our topic today is going to be the history of biscuits and gravy. The history of biscuits and gravy is debated a little bit on like the exact time when biscuits were put with gravy. And it's either between, it was during the American Revolution or like shortly after the American Revolution. But either way, like everyone agrees, like it was around that time period. And everybody absolutely agrees that it was born from Southern ingenuity and penny pinching.
Yeah. I'm honestly kind of surprised that there's even a general timeline.
Yeah, I mean, it is kind of interesting. Well, we'll talk a little bit about like how we know that was happening. It's a lot more interesting than I originally would have just like guessed. It is kind of a crazier history. So biscuits as we know them today started out being referred to as beaten biscuits, because to make the dough, the maker would literally have to like beat them and like work the dough for several hours, apparently. Yeah, like apparently biscuits were like a huge, like laborious undertaking. I don't think it was necessarily super like difficult, but it took a long time and like a lot of work.
Man, there's no way that was worth it.
It wasn't, but to some people, it didn't really matter. So
Okay.
so because they would have to work the dough for so long, it would result in them being like super hard and dense.
Mm-hmm.
So they were not like biscuits that we think of today. They were really, really hard.
Okay.
And like you were saying, like it didn't seem like worth it to make them because it like took so long. Biscuits were usually a food made by slaves. And so that's also why it was like pretty much a strictly Southern thing.
Oh.
Was because they had slaves. And so they like didn't care. They were like, oh, we'll just have the slaves do it and like make them do that. And they just forced them to make them, and they didn't care how long it took because they like could make them do whatever they wanted.
Okay, I understand.
Yeah, so that's why it was like a Southern thing, was because they were the only people that like they were forced to do it, told to do it, and they just like had the time to do it.
Yes, yeah.
So because of that, though, after slavery was abolished, pretty much people stopped making biscuits because now everybody realized like if they had to do it on their own, they were like, fuck this shit. That takes way too long. Yeah.
This sucks. Yeah.
Yeah. So for like a little bit, biscuits almost like pretty much like ceased to exist in America. But, sometime in like the Industrial Revolution around like, like that mid 1800s, technology was starting to come along, and two things helped bring biscuits back. Commercial leaveners and some machines that would work together to be able to make the process of actually making the biscuits a lot shorter. So it went from like a couple of hours to like, kneading the dough to about like, around like 15 minutes.
Okay, yeah, big difference.
Yeah, huge difference. So like that really helped it regain popularity again. And because there were like leaveners now used, and because you didn't have to like work it so long, the biscuits became a lot fluffier and softer. Yes. So they started to become more towards like what you would think of now as like biscuits and gravy.
Just how I want them.
So the next big leap was whenever refrigeration was widely available, because how we make them today, biscuits use like all cold ingredients like throughout the whole process until you cook them. So like when you make them, you pretty much like want to keep like your butter and everything like in the fridge right until you put them in and mix them in and everything. And even then, like, they'll even, like, have you, like, put them back in the fridge until you are ready to put them in the oven. So...
Wait, have you ever made biscuits from scratch?
I have, yeah.
I have not. I've just done the little can. You just twist and pop it. That's all I've done.
Dude, that was the next thing of like what made them like way like boom in popularity was because like people started putting them in cans and it became like super, super easy to make them. Yes, if you're making them from scratch or like even when they put them in the can and stuff, what makes a biscuit is the chunks of unevenly distributed fat, which we use as butter.
Okay, yeah.
And then it's laminated or like folded on top of each other. And then those like layers, when they cook, they all rise and unevenly the butter will disperse. And that's how you get like the flakes and the layers. So that's what makes a biscuit a biscuit.
Okay.
So that was like the biscuit side. That's one half of this equation. So the other side was gravy.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Sausage gravy is traditionally the gravy that you use for biscuits and gravy. Or there's one other gravy that I'm okay with if they have it.
Okay.
But sausage gravy was originally called sawmill gravy. And there's like a couple of theories on why that is. Some people say that it was because sawmill workers would make it because it was like stuff that was like really cheap and they had the things on hand and it was like super calorie dense. So they would just be able to like make it real quick, eat it at the beginning of the day. And then when they went to go work at the sawmill, they'd be full most of the day. The other theory is that you make it with like a lot of like really cheap ingredients and most of it is just flour. And so some people thought that like in the earlier days, people would just start to throw sawdust in instead of flour to make it even cheaper. Yeah.
Ew.
And because it was like kind of grainy like that, they were like, oh, that's sawdust, you know?
Oh, gross.
That's two different theories of why they think it was originally called sawmill gravy.
Okay, well, I like the first one better.
Yeah, it does sound a lot more appetizing. That is the history of both of them coming together. And I guess like either during or again, like shortly after the American Revolution, the ingredients for both of those things were mostly abundant and it was after wartime. And so like people were trying to find ways to fill themselves up, obviously, with the least amount of stuff possible. And so both of those things kind of came together, and everybody agrees that in the Appalachian South is where they finally like put two and two together, and they started putting sausage gravy on biscuits, and biscuits and gravy was born. How many types of gravy do you think you can name?
4.
Okay. Which gravies do you know?
Sausage gravy?
Yeah, sausage gravy or sawmill gravy. So that is made with
Sausage?
Yeah.
Or sawdust?
Yeah. So sausage gravy is some sort of pork fat or pork drippings mixed with flour and milk. So it's usually sausage, and then you just keep the sausage in there and then make the gravy with the residual fat. But technically, I think you could use like bacon or ham, or it says you can use like any pork drippings to make sausage gravy.
The other one is turkey gravy.
Okay.
Yellowish kind of one. There's brown gravy and white gravy for mashed potatoes.
Okay, yeah. So white gravy is the other one that I would be okay with if they put it on biscuits and gravy.
Yeah, I guess I would be okay, yeah.
White gravy is specifically bacon fat with flour and butter and black pepper. Like they were like, you gotta use bacon and it's gotta be black pepper. Like those are the two, like it has to be white gravy. That's what it is.
Okay.
Brown gravy, they say you can use literally any meat drippings. They said you could use whatever you want as long as it's fat from meat juice mixed with flour.
I don't like that.
And then they use beef stock to like thin it, and that's why it's brown.
Okay. Yeah. Those are the only 4 I know. Honestly, when I said 4, I was really only thinking of 3, and I was just hoping I could come up with an extra one.
Yeah, you could think of something on the spot.
Thank God I did.
There's something called chili gravy, and it is...
Chili gravy?
Yeah, chili gravy. They're trying to claim that traditional, like, enchilada sauce is essentially chili gravy, because it's lard, melted down, and then thickened with flour or masa, and then they add in like chili powder, cumin, garlic, and paprika. And so I guess they're arguing that like it is a gravy because of that.
Okay, I mean, yeah, I understand the like.
It seems kind of cheap.
Kind of like the whole is like a hot dog, a sandwich kind of thing.
Yeah, that's true. A little ticky-tacky.
Yeah.
This one blew my mind. Have you ever heard of red eye gravy?
No. Is that like coffee or something?
Yeah. It's literally, it says it's specifically ham drippings mixed with coffee.
Oh, gross.
And then flour. Yeah. Yeah.
That is hilarious.
The disputed origin of it is supposedly that Andrew Jackson one day like stayed up really late, and so he told his chef that he wanted him to bring him a gravy that was as red as my eyes and to keep me awake.
It is.
Oh, and so he just put ham fat and coffee and called it good.
Bro.
But it's a thing, apparently.
That's worse than the Neapolitan guy, man.
Yeah, just a poor chef tasked with an impossible job.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like apparently you eat it like with like what you would think I think normally use other gravies on. They say that it's like can go on ham specifically, which makes sense because it's made from the ham drippings, and then like over potatoes, corn, lima beans, macaroni, cornbread, or biscuits.
I've never heard of putting gravy on macaroni.
Oh, sorry. There is no
Coffee and ham dripping.
Yeah, no, there is no flour or anything. It's literally just
weird.
And ham drippings. That's it. Yeah. It says also known as poor man's gravy, which they already said even that gravy was like a.
They already did sawdust, man.
Yeah.
What's cheaper than sawdust? Coffee? I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, man. Okay, so next up we have chocolate gravy.
Oh.
Chocolate gravy is specifically, or again, any kind of pork dripping mixed with flour, butter, and cocoa.
I'm not doing that.
It seems like one of those things. Weirdly looks like it could work.
Really?
Yeah. And they put it on like a biscuit, at least in this in this picture.
I don't know about that one.
It looks like it could work.
I am not committing to ordering it at a restaurant, but if someone else ordered it, I would try some of it.
You would try it? Yeah, that's fair. That's the same gravy boat that I would be in.
Yeah. Get out of here.
Okay, so next up we have something that the internet claims is a Midwest America gravy. And I have never had this, I don't think. I've heard of this, but I don't think I've had it. Have you ever heard of shit on a shingle?
No.
I've heard that before. So they call it either shit on a shingle, aka hamburger gravy, and essentially this one is just ground beef, and then you mix in flour, milk, and butter, and then you just like put it on top of shit.
Huh. On what? Like what?
I only know shit on a shingle from like World War II stuff, where they would like spread it onto like toast, and it was like a soldier ration.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's how I've heard of it. I have never heard of or seen. It honestly looks like a really cheap, like homemade, like hamburger helper.
Yeah. I bet it's good.
I'm sure it does taste fine. Yeah. But I've never had it, and I've never like heard of it really. But I just thought it was interesting because they did say it's specifically a Midwest thing.
Weird. I'd try it.
Okay. Next up, we have the tomato gravy.
Okay.
And they call this one the desperation gravy.
Oh.
Because it's literally tomatoes cooked down and then mixed with pretty much any fat. That's it. And then like they say, if you wanted to, you could mix flour or whatever into it, but that's about it.
Wait, so what's the difference between this and like enchilada sauce?
No spices.
Okay, yeah, you're right. It's just tomato and...
It's just tomato and fat.
Yeah, okay.
I've actually had this one, mushroom gravy.
Okay, yes, damn it. That one I should have got.
Yeah, we actually, I actually didn't realize, I didn't think about it, but I do like some good biscuits and mushroom gravy. We make that at the house sometimes, and it's actually really good. It's essentially just like sausage gravy, but obviously except for the meat drippings, it's just butter and mushrooms.
Yeah, I think I've only had it with like maybe like a steak or chicken or something.
We had it first at Atomic Cowboy. They put it on their fries.
Oh,
Yeah.
really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
There's something called shrimp gravy. Yeah. It just sounds disgusting.
I'm not doing that one.
There's
Ooh.
giblet gravy.
No, yeah, I'll tell you when the next time I'm interested.
This one they call as the rich man's gravy.
Ooh,
Yeah, because it's much more laborious than like all the other gravies. It's bacon fat, butter, whisked eggs, and milk.
yep, I could do that.
Like, what would you put that on? Like, it sounds very like breakfast. Like most of these, I feel like are usually kind of more breakfast, but I don't know what you gain from that over like a different gravy. I guess maybe that's why they call it rich man's gravy, because it just seems like way more involved than with the other ones.
Yeah, I guess like look at all this extra stuff I use just to make mashed potatoes and gravy.
Yeah. So my last thing that I found during this research was I was like, in the back of my mind, I was thinking about like, you know how we call biscuits like the light fluffy things that we put gravy on? Those are biscuits to us in America. But in the UK, they call what we would call cookies biscuits.
Yeah.
And so I was like, why is that? Like, there's got to be a reason, right? And there is. So it goes back to Rome conquering Britain again.
Oh man, this has come up twice.
I know. And I didn't even know it happened once.
Yeah, that's true.
So I guess biscuits originally started out as a Roman soldier field ration because it was literally just like flour and water mixed together, and then they would bake it until it was like pulverized almost. And so like it was like really hard, which if you remember is kind of like the beaten biscuits where it's just like really hard, and they were like crispy, like they were crunchy. But because of that, they would last for a really long time.
Yeah.
So when Rome conquered Britain, they brought that with them because the soldiers had those biscuits with them. And so the UK or Britain started using like that recipe, and Britain had biscuits now. So those same biscuits traveled to the Americas because, again, they kept super well. So they loaded up on them when they came over. And so when they first came to America, they were biscuits, like where they were the same thing. But like how we learned today, how biscuits transformed into the soft, buttery, flaky biscuits that we know today, like the term kind of changed, right? And so like it went that route.
Yeah.
And that's why we call them biscuits now. But the UK still calls like what we would call cookies biscuits because their cookies are crunchy and they snap. Like I guess in the UK, like that is what constitutes a biscuit is something when they have like that like crispy snap to them. And so that's why it's different.
Okay. Yeah. I do know I went to Sweden to have a cinnamon roll one time. Well, sorry, I did not go to Sweden to have a cinnamon roll. I was traveling.
They call it the rich man's cinnamon roll.
Yeah, could you imagine? Sorry, we were traveling. We ended up in Sweden, and they were like, you know, like this is where the cinnamon roll originated. And I was like, oh my god, I need to have one. This is gonna be delicious. And it was not the same cinnamon roll we have in the U.S. Because like ours are like big and fluffy and soft and, you know, super sweet. Yes. Oh, yes. I love them. And the one I had there was like this little like hard, like not particularly sweet thing. But I was like, what is this? This sucks.
Oh, so it's more like just spiced bread rather than like.
Yeah, it just, I don't know. It was good. But I had in my head of like, this is going to be the fluffiest, gooeyest, sweetest cinnamon roll I've ever had in my life. And it was like
indulgent,
not at all that.
Hey, and that's all I got. And we'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening. As always, if you want to like or subscribe, please follow us on Instagram at shortpourpodcast or send us a suggestion through email at shortpourpod@gmail.com.
And whether you pour short
or pour long,
always finish.